I picked up my best friend after her breakup. Then she asked, "Why didn't I choose you?" I got a call from my best friend at 2:17 in the morning. She was crying. Not the kind of crying where you wipe away a few tears and say you're okay. She was completely broken. Her boyfriend of 3 years had just left her. And without thinking twice, I got out of bed, grabbed my keys, and drove to her apartment. When she opened the door, she looked at me with red eyes and whispered, "I don't know what I'm going to do." I pulled her into a hug. And what she said next changed everything. "Why didn't I choose you?" Her name was Emma. And we'd been best friends since college. For years, I was the person she called when she was happy. When she was sad. When she needed advice. When she couldn't sleep. I knew her favorite coffee order. I knew which songs she played when she was heartbroken. I even knew the exact face she made when she was pretending everything was fine. But there was one thing Emma didn't know. I was in love with her. I'd been in love with her for almost 5 years. But I never told her. Why? Because I was terrified. I was afraid that if I told her how I felt, I'd lose the one person I couldn't imagine my life without. So I stayed quiet. I listened to her talk about other guys. I helped her pick anniversary gifts. I even drove her to dates when she didn't have a ride. And every time she smiled at me, I convinced myself that being her best friend was enough. Until that night. I sat beside Emma on the couch. She had her knees pulled against her chest. "He said he doesn't love me anymore," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. So I simply said, "Then he doesn't deserve you." She looked at me. "You always say that." "Because it's true." She gave me a weak smile. Then she rested her head on my shoulder. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then she asked, "Do you ever wonder what your life would be like if you had made different choices?" I laughed softly. "Sometimes." She looked up at me. "What about us?" My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" She stared at the floor. "Why didn't I choose you?" I couldn't answer. Because suddenly, the secret I'd been hiding for years felt like it was sitting between us. I finally looked at her. "Emma, you never had to choose me." She frowned. "Why not?" "Because you never knew I was an option." She became completely silent. I took a deep breath. "I loved you." Her eyes widened. "Loved?" I smiled sadly. "No. I love you." She didn't say anything. I continued. "I've loved you for years. But I never told you because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Losing you." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You could have told me." "I could have." "Then why didn't you?" I looked down. "Because every time you were happy with someone else, I told myself that your happiness mattered more than what I wanted." She started crying again. But this time, she wasn't crying because of her ex. She was crying because she finally understood. Emma whispered. "I thought you were just being a good friend." I was. "Then why did you always come when I called?" "Because I loved you." "Why did you remember everything I told you?" "Because I loved you." "Why did you never date anyone seriously?" I smiled. "Because I was waiting for someone who didn't even know I was waiting." She covered her face with her hands. "I feel terrible." "You shouldn't." "But I wasted years." "No." I shook my head. "You lived your life. You fell in love. You got hurt. That's not something you should apologize for." She looked at me. "And what about you?" "I'll be okay." "Are you sure?" "No." For the first time, I was completely honest. "No, Emma. I'm not sure." She reached for my hand. Then she said something I'll never forget. Maybe I didn't choose you because I was never looking at you the way I should have. I thought that was the end. I thought she'd go back to her apartment, I'd go home, and we'd need some time apart. But the next morning, she called me. Can you come over? I almost said no. But I went. When I arrived, she was standing outside with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to me. My favorite. I smiled. You remembered. She smiled back. I've always remembered. Then she took a deep breath. I don't want to make a decision because I'm heartbroken. I nodded. That would be unfair to both of us. But. She stepped closer. I also don't want to pretend that I didn't hear what you said last night. I looked at her. She continued. For years, I kept searching for someone who would understand me, protect me, listen to me, and stay when things got difficult. She smiled through her tears. And you were standing right in front of me. I couldn't speak. Then she said. I don't know what happens next. I nodded. That's okay. But I'd like to find out. 6 months later, Emma and I were sitting at the same coffee shop where we'd spent countless afternoons as best friends. Only this time, things were different. She reached across the table and held my hand. You know what I realized? She asked. What? I spent years asking myself why no one loved me the way I wanted to be loved. She smiled. Then I realized someone had been doing it all along. I laughed. So, you finally chose me? She shook her head. No. I raised an eyebrow. She squeezed my hand. I didn't choose you. I finally saw you. And sometimes, love doesn't begin when 2 people meet. Sometimes. It begins when one person finally sees what has been standing beside them all along. The end.